Aloha everyone, I'm Chevy Meteorologist here at the National Weather Service Forecast Office in Honolulu. Today we want to talk about drought, specifically the drought update we just got not too many days ago. So we had 2 feet plus of rain. Yes, 2 feet plus of rain. You remember that on the Big Island just a few weeks ago. You would think with all that rain that we wouldn't have any drought problems on the Big Island anyway, but we still do. Kauai and Oahu are drought-free right now, but Maui County has actually gotten worse. Now, the Big Island did improve a bit with all the rainfall that we saw just a few weeks ago, but they still have some concerns. So we've got a lot of questions here at the office about the drought situation and what the update is. So we wanted to give you that answer, and we wanted to answer a lot of questions that we've had over the last few weeks. Considering longer-term rainfall rates, we've had below normal totals for Maui and the Big Island, so that kind of makes sense. I'm a meteorologist, folks, and I know a lot of things about drought, but I'm not the expert on drought or hydrology in Hawaii. To get much better detailed answers on a few things, I found Kevin Kodama, our senior service hydrologist. This guy knows everything about hydrology in the state of Hawaii. So anything water, we talk to Kevin. Question number 1 for Kevin. Why does the Big Island and Maui have drought problems, but Kauai and Oahu do not?
Maui County and the Big Island have more drought for a couple of reasons. One is because of the community that's being impacted. Oftentimes drought affects the ranching community first, and they have the most ranching operations in the state. And the other reason is because of the terrain of both islands. They have the largest volcanoes, and they tend to have much drier leeward sides, especially if we're stuck in a trade wind pattern for a prolonged period of time. Then those leeward areas will tend not to get significant amounts of rain, and so they can have dry periods, and thus will have more drought conditions.
Question number 2. The Big Island got a lot of rain just a few weeks ago. So did that make up for the drought conditions on the Big Island?
Well, the reason why you can have so much rain in one area of the Big Island and then yet still have drought on that island is because the rain is not falling on the areas with drought. For instance, with Lane, or even with what happened this past weekend, all of that rain fell in a non-drought area for the most part. And the areas that had the most intense drought really had much less rainfall. In the case of the January 2020 flood event, the areas that had drought or were in drought did get some rain, and so there was some benefit to it. So that's a good thing. It'll help the farmers pull out of the drought condition.
All right, Kevin, what is our current drought situation?
Well, right now, the drought is currently in Maui County and the Big Island. Most of the drought, in fact, all of the drought in both counties are in the leeward sections. This January event really helped improve things, and that was good follow-up rain after the Christmas event. That did bring some improvements or beneficial rains to both counties, but they always need follow-up rain because you can have one rain event and that's not going to be enough to pull an area out of a drought typically. And with this follow-up rain just a few weeks after the Christmas event, then that provided the needed follow-up rainfall that they need, and now we're starting to see some improvements in conditions. In fact, after this January event, conditions have decreased considerably following the Christmas event.
And the next question, has the drought situation in Maui County and on the Big Island improved over the last year or so?
Drought over 2019 actually got worse during the early part of the year because we were in an El Nino situation, and so the early part of the year was dry. Drought started to increase. In fact, we were getting ready for an early fire season, early brush fire season. Luckily, we had an odd June storm, and so that kind of helped stabilize conditions for the west half, mainly the west half of the state. But conditions really dried out in the east half, and especially Maui County, in leeward slopes of Haleakala and the Kihei area, and in the Central Valley, and also in Kaupo area, things got really dry over there. And then leeward sections of the Big Island, it was really complex drought picture on the Big Island because for the most part, Kona they had a very wet summer. Windward sides were okay in terms of drought, but the north end and the south end were really, really dry. And so you had extreme drought near South Point, very localized area. And then in the north end near Hawi in the Kohala district, they had very dry conditions, but they were very localized. And then one thing that was unusual too, and is because of the slight change in the wind direction, prevailing wind direction, the Hamakua coast actually started to get really dry in the fall months. And so they hit severe drought in the pasture lands and some of the other ag lands. And so the area from Lapahoihoi up to Honoka'a experienced severe drought conditions. And they've since recovered because rainfall has really picked up in recent weeks.
And the last question for Mr. Kodama. How about the long-range models? Is it looking good for rain in the near future?
I think the long-range outlook is good in terms of rainfall. Right now, we're going to anticipate more rainfall for the rest of the wet season. I mean, we are in the wet season, so improvements should occur during this time of year anyway. But the long-range models, even back in October, had been projecting a wetter than average wet season. And so I think the outlook is good in terms of drought. We are expecting drought to completely be gone by the end of April, which is the end of the wet season.
Well, there you go, folks. That's the drought update for now for the state of Hawaii. If you have any questions, please feel free to go to our website. There is a lot of detailed information from Mr. Kodama about hydrology in the state of Hawaii. If you don't get your answers there, just let us know. Go to our Facebook page or our Twitter account. So social media is where you can ask us questions, and we'll do our best to get you the answer in a timely manner. Thanks a lot, folks. Stay safe out there. Mahalo.